seated. This is in the matter of people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Lee Allison, file number 2022-20996 FC. I have John Glazier appearing on behalf of Mr. Allison, and I have Douglas Hartung appearing on behalf of the people. I also have Jennifer Walsh from the Michigan Department of Corrections, who prepared the pre-sentence report. She's seated at council table with Mr. Hartung. So, Mr. Glazier, you received a copy of the pre-sentence report?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And Mr. Allison, you are Michael Lee Allison?
I am, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Allison, you had an opportunity to read and review the pre-sentence report.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to discuss that with Mr. Glazier?
Yes, I have.
Are you satisfied with Mr. Glazier as your attorney and the advice that he has given you?
I am.
Okay. Mr. Hartung, do you wish to explain or challenge the accuracy or relevancy of any information in the pre-sentence report?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Glazier?
Your Honor, in the report itself, Mr. Allison said he probably had some things that were wrong, but nothing significant enough for him to bring up here in court. He didn't remember what it was.
So it's important to the court that the pre-sentence report is correct. So if you want to address those, Mr. Allison, you can.
Your Honor, before we go to that, there is something else I wanted to object to.
Is it within the information in the pre-sentence report?
I think it's attached. PSI, I'm not sure.
Okay, there are quite a few attachments. So which one are you referencing?
Your Honor, there appears to be, it's not an attachment, but I received a copy of a letter from Jenny Gardner, dated denting, it says, but I think it's dated May 20th, 2024 to Judge Ansel to you.
All right, hold on one second. I do show, and I forgot to add, I know that I have quite a few sentencings today that are very difficult and very important to the people that are attending court, victims, defendants, whoever might be. So what I will remind everybody is that there is an expectation of decorum in the courtroom. And if you feel that you might make an outburst or something of that nature, I would just ask that you leave the courtroom because we can't disrupt our record for purposes of review. So there is a letter that has been attached. It's dated, it says, well, I don't see a date on it. I have a typed document from this one. And it at the top says on July 4 of 2022 on page 1.
Yes, but at the back page it's dated May 30th. She said it's not dated. It is on the 30th.
Okay, and it's by Jenny Gardner. So what is your objection to that document?
Your Honor, first of all, I'm not sure, this didn't come on the usual victims' rights form. This appears to be something that Ms. Gardner, somebody typed up on her behalf.
It looks like this was a letter written by his ex-wife.
It's not an ex-wife, Your Honor. We're going to go over that in just a second. This is a relationship he had, and they have some children together. And this was back in 2012 was the last time they had a relationship. He disagrees with almost everything that's stated in that letter.
Okay. Okay.
Can I address it, Your Honor?
Well, before we do that, I'd like to address something else. So, Mr. Hartung, this is a letter that was provided by the mother of his children who is not involved in this case. So under the victim statute, I don't know that this is admissible.
I don't have an objection to the court not continuing to attach that particular letter to this PSI report.
Okay, so I will set that letter aside and it will not be attached or considered for purposes of sentencing.
All right. The next thing we wanted to address is kind of related to this letter. There was a letter, I think, sent by Your Honor to me asking if the 2 minor children he has with this individual could be present in court.
Yep, so let me clarify that. There was an email from Mr. Hartung dated May 28th of 2024.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep, indicating that Ms. Gardner has requested that her 2 minor daughters be allowed to be present in the courtroom for Mr. Allison's sentencing. There are two minor daughters, age 15 and age 13. It's my understanding, or I've been advised, that the 13-year-old is not present today, but the 15-year-old is. And Mr. Hartung, I did receive information that Mr. Ellison was objecting to his daughters not being present today, but the 13-year-old is not present.
Okay, I misspoke. We received a phone call from your office indicating that you were inclined to let that minor child be present. Is what we're objecting to. And if I could state my reason.
Yes.
If
You didn't receive a phone call from me, you received a call from my staff, correct? Okay,
Yep.
yes.
And Your Honor, this is, and it's really not a whole lot to do with this sentencing. But my client loves his children dearly. He doesn't think that his minor children, he don't think any of his children, one's an adult, should be present for his sentencing. It's a traumatic situation for him as well as them. If you look at the letter that you didn't allow to be attached, it said
Well, I don't want it read into the record if I'm not allowing it to be a part of the record.
Well, if you look at the, you can look at it yourself, Your Honor. It's a very vindictive letter, and he thinks this is nothing more than his ex-girlfriend, the mother of these children, trying to dig at him and upset him, and it's not good for the minors as well. He just doesn't think that's proper for that to occur.
Mr. Hartung, response?
Unusual, granted. The conversations I had with Ms. Gardner reflected that the minor children met with counselors. Counselors were supportive of this idea, given all the things that had happened in the family's relationship over the years. I don't have an objection to it. The court indicated that they would allow it to occur. Again, the situation is such that this is being live streamed. It could be watched right now at home. Whether she's in person or whether she's watching it on her laptop is not much difference. And certainly it would be available the next day to watch anyway, Your Honor.
So, so Mr. Glazier and Mr. Hartung, we do typically have had in the past policies about young minor children testifying in family law cases or being present in the courtroom on family law cases. We've never really, I think there was a sentencing down the hall where the minor children were present too. You know, I found no law that indicates that he has a right to determine who is present or not. You know, at this point, he obviously does not have custody of those children. 13-year-old is not present, but my understanding somewhere here is the 15-year-old, and I think at this point there's nothing barring her from being present, so I'll allow her to remain. All right. And as Mr. Hartung stated, it's streamed, so you know, she could obviously watch it as well. All right, anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Ellison or Mr.
I don't know. Did you find?
Oh, yeah. So, Mr. Ellison, was there anything in there you wanted to make changes on?
No, I'm satisfied, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you wish, Mr. Glazier, does the pre-sentence report disclose any prior convictions in which there exists any known constitutional guideline or defect? I show you as one prior felony and one prior misdemeanor.
Yeah, and they're not scored under the guidelines. But yeah, no, we agree he has those convictions.
Okay. The probation department has computed, let me find it here, the sentencing guidelines to be 162 to 270 months. Mr. Hartung, do you agree with that computation of guidelines?
We do, Your Honor. Mr. Glazier and I determined those with your cooperation and participation.
All right, Mr. Glazier.
I just wanted, yeah, yeah, that's what we had a big long discussion back in chambers. In fact, made it a part of the record prior to my client taking it with you.
Okay. The court passes sentence. Mr. Hartung, I believe we have someone who wishes to speak today.
There are one or two people that would like to speak.
Okay. So I want you to step up to the podium. And you're gonna speak into the mic, and I need you to look at me, okay? So you're addressing the court, so I want you to focus on looking at me and reading your letter, okay? All right, can you, and you need to speak loudly because we are recording, okay? Can you state your full name for the record, please?
Yeah, Barb Atkins,
Spell your last name.
A-D as in David, K-I-N-S.
Okay, and I need you to speak a little bit louder. I appreciate it, and you may begin.
All right. I've waited for this day for almost 2 years. It's hard to describe the mix of emotions I'm feeling now that it's actually here. I'm happy to know that you will finally be going to prison where you belong. I'm angry that it took you getting a plea deal because you don't ever deserve to see the light of day again. What you do deserve is to rot away in a cell for the rest of your miserable, unremorseful, disgusting life. I'm sad because my dad didn't live long enough to see this day happen. You won't let us use the word life in your sentencing because you couldn't stand to hear that word. Well, that is exactly what you should be doing. You took my sister's life because she told you she no longer wanted to be with you. That's pathetic. She got sick of being controlled by you, and she decided she wanted to have a life. That made you so angry that you beat the crap out of her in front of her 3 children. At the time were 3, 5, and 7. When she got away from you beating her, she ran out the door, you grabbed your gun, and told the oldest to call 911. You knew exactly what you were gonna do. Proceeded to chase her down like an animal and shoot her twice, once in the butt, your words. And then either she turned over or you turned her over. Either way, she had to have been looking at you and begging for her life, and you shot her in the heart while she was laying in the ditch in her front yard of her home. You took my sister's life and then thought you should get manslaughter. Again, pathetic. Now my nephews have to grow up without their mom. Myself and my 3 other sisters have lost their baby sister. My stepmom had to bury another child. And you killed my dad of a broken heart because he never fully recovered after she was murdered in cold blood. So I'm begging you to give this so-called man the maximum sentence possible.
Thank you. You're gonna come right up to the podium. And then remember, you have to address me, so you have to look at me, okay? And I need you to speak loud enough that it'll pick up on the recording.
Okay.
So can you state your full name for the record?
Chelsea Mathis,
Oh, can you spell your last name?
Mathis.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Imagine getting a phone call on the 4th of July that one of your closest family members was shot and killed. Now imagine also hearing that the person who did it was their spouse, and they did it in front of their children. Nicole was my best friend. We grew up together. 4th of July was on our favorite holiday, one of our favorite holidays, but not anymore. Each year that has passed since he killed her has been the hardest and darkest times of my life. So much so that I do not even celebrate it anymore. I mean, I don't know how anybody could. I could sit here and explain in details the way this traumatic loss has impacted me and my family. I've been in therapy, including EMDR and trauma therapy, but this isn't about me. This is about Nicole and how Michael came into our family and ripped it apart, leaving us to put back the pieces, even though it feels irreparable. Nicole's dream was to be a mother. She was always talking about wanting to have kids, celebrating holidays with them. taking them to sports and attending games. But she no longer has the chance to do that. She left behind her 3 amazing, smart, funny, and kind boys who have had to deal with the unimaginable loss of not having their mother to read to them, have movie nights, or to tuck them in bed ever again. Michael took that opportunity away from their children. Accident or not, Nicole did not deserve to have her life taken away no matter the circumstances. Max, Wyatt, and Connor deserve a voice in this horrific situation, and I am here on behalf of them to say that Michael Allison not only took Nicole's life from her, but he took theirs too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hartung, do we have anybody else that wishes to speak?
That is it, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hartung, is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of the people?
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would prefer to defer my comments, which will be very brief, in case there's some allocution that I'd like to address.
Okay, so Mr. Hartung, Mr. Glazier and Mr. Ellison, can you step up to the podium, please? Mr. Glazier, is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of your client before the court passes?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. This is a situation that should never have happened. My client is remorseful despite what anybody else might think. It was a situation where he was enraged, got out of control, and the result was this, and it's not a good situation. He was very sorry for his children. He wanted to raise them through adulthood and perhaps meet grandchildren and things of that sort. He's not going to be able to do any of that. He knows if the court follows the recommendation of what we had as a Killabrew at Cobb's plate, that he's going to spend a good portion, if not all of his adult life in prison. And he feels sorry for family members that he can't be around because of that. And he does regret what happened. Anything you want to say, Mr. Allison?
I want to address the family and say how apologetic I really am. I don't know. I mean, there's none that can ever repay what happened. I have another side. I have my side of the family that has been reaching out that have nothing to do with what happened. That I do believe the boys should be able to know and conversate with, as well as their sisters. They have quite a few of them. I love Nicole. I love them so much. I love Linda and Rob. They were always there. We were just looking at property in Kentucky. This come out of nowhere. I am sorry. What?
Mr. Hartung?
No, it's really easy to say there, John. It's really easy to say you're remorseful after the fact, but the problem I think that's exemplified in this case is there's no thought for the consequences of the action you took. Your lack of control on your own temper, your mean-spirited, selfish, vindictive decision to do what you did at the time that this happened. And look what has happened to you. You have 3 young children that you aren't going to be able to raise because of how you acted on this day. You have 3 older children who wanted to be here today, and 2 of them are. And you're not going to be able to have contact with them moving forward. Rob, in all likelihood, died way prematurely because of what you did. His heart was broken. And Linda couldn't even appear here today because there's just been too much of a strain and stress on her from what happened. It's tragic and sad, and all because you couldn't control your emotions at the time that this happened. Thank you.
In determining the appropriate sentence in this case, and Mr. Hartung and Mr. Glazier, just for clarification, there was a Killebrew agreement regarding the sentencing, correct?
Bottom end.
Okay. In determining the appropriate sentence in this case, the court has considered the seriousness of the offense, your history, the principle of proportionality, the statutory penalty, the cost of confinement, the sentencing guidelines, the report and recommendation of the probation department, as well as what has been said upon the record at this hearing. The criteria and reasons for the sentence are the nature and gravity of the offense, the discipline appropriate to its commission, deterrence against repetition by you and by others, the potential for reformation, vindication for the law and the protection of society. Mr. Allison, you destroyed a lot of people's lives that day. When you have anyone, and it happens so often in our community now on a yearly basis, where men shoot women and kill women. You shot her like an animal in the street, on the property, in front of your children. You destroyed their lives, your daughter's lives, the family's lives, in that one moment because you felt you had the right to shoot her. We wonder why women are choosing the bear in all these videos now, because people like you make women not safe in this world. There is a Killebrew agreement that you will be sentenced to a minimum of 20 years. That was struck by your attorney and the prosecuting attorney. Understand, but for that, you would have never gotten out of prison. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So it's a sentence of the court that you will serve a period of 20 years to 50 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections. We'll give you credit for 697 days already served. During that term of probation, you will have no contact with the victim's family. You must pay a crime victim assessment fee in the amount of $130 as ordered by the court, $60 DNA fee, and $68 in state costs. Anything else you want added to that, Mr. Hartung?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Walsh?
Judge, I just got notice from the victims unit. They are asking for $5,000 in restitution for the expenses of the funeral that they paid for.
Okay, so do they have documentation of that?
Yes.
Do you have that documentation? Could you show that to Mr. Hartung? You would have to pay that as a term of parole.
John.
So I have no. You understand what I'm saying? What? No,
We don't object to that, Your Honor. My client just wants the court to know that there's been plenty of money provided to this family through a bank account. How much was it?
it's 42,000.
There's some more that's gonna come with probate, and he's allowed them to take over the house, which is proper, but he's not gonna make an objection of the.
Who's that payable to?
State of Michigan, right? State of Michigan, right? You know, yeah,
The funeral bill is paid through the state of Michigan.
Okay,
State of Michigan.
is it through a crime victims?
crime victims unit
My
paid.
client wasn't aware of that, John.
Okay,
So
All
he has no objection.
all right, and I will order $5,000 in restitution paid to the Crime Victim Rights Unit through the state of Michigan for the cost of burial. Anything else, Ms. Walsh? Okay. Now, Mr. Allison, you do have the right to appeal this sentence. My bailiff's gonna hand down to your notice of right to appellate review. Your initial and date, one copy today is May 30th of 2024. The other copies are for you, and if you wish to appeal your sentence, you would fill out the information on the form and mail it to the address listed on the form within 42 days.